All right, so welcome to our first Crosschq Check-In. This is a series that we've put together to talk with different innovators from across our ecosystem, get a little wisdom about how they've gotten to where they have gotten to in their careers, learn a little about their business, and who knows where else things go. One thing in our Crosschq Check-Ins we will always make a priority is to make them fun, and with that, we're going to focus also on what our guest's favorite cocktail is. So to get us going today, I'm here with Craig Walker from Dialpad, CEO and founder. And Craig, what is your favorite cocktail?
I love a Moscow Mule.
A Moscow Mule. So here's what we do at our Crosschq Check-Ins, just to make sure we're fully prepared, is we actually have his favorite drink already ready for him. Little did he know. So let's get started.
Right on. Thank you.
All right, so my name is Mike Fitzsimmons. I'm the CEO of Crosschq. Crosschq is the creator of the Candidate Intelligence Cloud. Functionally, what we're all about is helping companies make better hires by using human intelligence. So we'll get into that at another point in time. But today we really wanted to focus on a couple of core things. Just as you look at this setup we have here, just want everyone to know Craig and I did both get tested for CV19, so we're all in the clear and we are staying socially distanced, even though you did see that handoff that may have crossed 6 feet, but I was close. We practiced it in advance. But we really want to get kicked off here and introduce you to Craig Walker. Craig is the founder and CEO of Dialpad, who is not only a Crosschq customer, but also a very important influence in the journey of Crosschq. It's actually not lost on me sitting in this room. I haven't been in this room in 3 years, but when I was here 3 years ago, I was pitching Craig on my new business idea. And Craig sat across his desk and he said, "You might be crazy, but that idea is not." So anyway, I want to raise the first glass to Craig for being a core inspiration for me on getting Crosschq kicked off and kind of act as a good influence on our journey. All right, first sip is down. Back to Craig. So look, Craig's an entrepreneur's entrepreneur, and I put him in rare air as it relates to creating new businesses, creating job opportunities, and transforming work. I made a list of all the entrepreneurs who have founded and successfully exited 3 companies. It's a really short list. Craig holds that honor. He sold his first company to Yahoo, his second company to Google, and recently his third company, Dialpad, was minted as a unicorn, having raised $100 million at north of $1 billion valuation. So with that, super excited to have you here. I think Craig would tell you that he's proud of those 3 companies, probably more proud, obviously, of his 3 children and of his wife, who he's been married to for 25 years, I believe. 28 years or something in that neighborhood. So anyway, just to get us kicked off, he's in a special class of innovators. Do your own homework and see how many others have had that level of success. I think of Elon Musk. I don't think Steve Jobs did it more than once. I don't think Bezos has done it more than once. So anyway, we welcome Craig to our stage here.
Yeah, embarrassing to be grouped in with those others.
All right, so let's get rolling here. Congratulations on the latest funding. It's pretty exciting. How are you going to spend the dough?
Building out the team more than anything. So sales capacity, R&D, a little brand awareness on the marketing side, but mostly HR. And when I say HR, I mean recruiting great talent. We'll probably need 500 people over the next 2 years. So yeah, a lot of hiring.
And what was the process like raising financing in this market, remote market? Did you meet any of the new investors?
Yeah.
Tell us a little about that.
Yeah, interesting. So we had B of A help us on the fundraise, and never met the folks from B of A during the process. They put us in front of probably 60 funds. Never met any of them in person. Ended up with multiple term sheets. Never met any of them in person. So yeah, the entire thing was done remote. In fact, we had a board meeting on Tuesday. So yesterday, day before yesterday, and a couple of the board members we've never met in person. So it's a weird virtual world.
All right, so we're now at a stage where you just raised $100 million without ever meeting the investors in person. I still have a recollection of you 10 years ago, if not more, maybe more, in that kind of 15 by 15 cottage with your co-founders.
Yeah.
Tell us a little about the journey of what it took to get from sitting in the cottage with nothing other than your brains and ideas to where you are today.
Yeah, first of all, this is the longest job I've ever had by a long shot. So 10 years here, but yeah, we left Google November 1st, 2010, the day the Giants won their first World Series, and started Dialpad there, started in my backyard. Me and 3 co-founders, 2 of them from Google, one was introduced by an investor. And and really didn't know what we were going to do, right? Like we had started the company, we called it Firespotter Labs. We were going to work on a bunch of different ideas. And then our background was in telephony, and we saw a really big opportunity to make business communications great. And so we focused on that, and then that kind of took off. And we launched our first product, Uber Conference, at TechCrunch Disrupt in New York in 2012. We won Disrupt with that, and then that got us to our Series B financing, and Mark Andreessen joined our board, and things just kind of took off from there.
And everything was easy from that point forward.
Yeah. The last 7 years have been the easy part. No, it's been a grind. I mean, every startup's a grind, right? And like, even when you look back after 10 years and it looks all high to the right, there's tons of little micro ups and downs all along the way.
Yeah, that's awesome. I still remember a story you told me about a trade show you were at in Chicago. And I think when you were doing Firespotter, one of the early products had nothing to do with telephony.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you remember that story and the epiphany you had?
Yeah, so we had thought, so our prior two startups were all around telephony. So we thought, look, we're done with telephony. We're out of good ideas. We're just going to do something different. Get a bunch of smart guys, focus on something else. And so the restaurant space we were really excited about. We're like, we're going to create a new point of sale system and ordering everything from your phone and rating food and all this stuff. And went to a trade show, went to the National Restaurant Association annual show in Chicago. And you realize you don't know a single person from industry. There's a bunch of other companies that are doing exactly what you're hoping to build, and they're getting no traction and having a very difficult time. And one of our Series A investor, Wesley Chan from Google Ventures, and now he's at Felicis, they're also an investor, but he took me there to basically show me that I had no competitive advantages in the restaurant space. And it was kind of like, totally humbling and embarrassing. And on the flight home, we're like, all right, we're just going to go back to telephony.
That's the greatest.
Yeah, no, it was the best advice an investor could ever give you.
I think it's so wonderful. I reflect on that story because it emphasizes how lonely entrepreneurialism can be when you're standing. We've all stood in those trade show floors like, I don't know anybody. I don't know anything about this space. How the hell am I going to get forward, right? But also it's such a valuable lesson about leverage, right?
Yeah.
And how you've been able to kind of leverage all this stuff.
Yeah, you have a 10-year, or at that time had a 10-year career in telephony. Like if I were to go to the wireless trade show, I'd run into people that that you've known over the last 10 years, and you just feel like you can get a lot accomplished at the bar and talking to folks and behind the scenes. At the Restaurant Association, man, I was fish out of water. Like I was getting nothing.
Speaking of the bar, cheers to that
Cheers.
that decision that you made
on
the showroom floor.
Okay.
All right, so keep jamming forward here. I'll kind of get back to today.
Yep.
You guys sit at a super interesting point in sort of the ecosystem, especially as this shift to remote has happened so rapidly. What's that been like?
Yeah, it's been awesome. When we left, or when we started working on all the telephony stuff, and we said we're just going to focus on that, we were always built around a concept of, look, work's a thing you do, it's not a place you go. So you should be able to work from anywhere on any device you want and be just as productive as if you were sitting in your office. And we kind of felt there was going to be an inevitable win by the cloud over on-premise stuff. Like there's just, the benefits are just too great. But it was relatively slow adoption for a lot of companies. Like a lot of companies still use an on-premise, even email system, on-premise Exchange servers. So to get them to move to the cloud for their telephony was kind of a difficult thing. Like they didn't even see the value of it. COVID hits, and all of a sudden they have to make, connect their workers in thousands of home offices around the world. And the only way you can do that is with cloud-based, software-based communication tools. And so for contact center agents and for sales reps and support reps, like it was perfect. It was exactly what we knew would happen over the next 10 years, happened over the last 10 months. So it was just a great time.
I always love the radical insights. And so when you think about any usage patterns, has anything that you've seen really surprised you?
When COVID first hit, the amount of conferencing just went off the charts. Because we have a conferencing product, just like overnight went off the charts. And the interesting thing that we see now in the patterns is there's very rigid kind of time frames. Like people check in around like start working at 9, but they stop working at 5.
wow.
Like, but they're stacked through the day, but the bookends are open. Whereas in the past, it'd be like people would stay later at the office or not. But I think it's just kind of like, the way it is now, your days are so scheduled and you're from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting that by the time 5 comes around, like that's enough. Like, and I used to work way longer, but never worked harder.
That's
that makes any
amazing.
sense.
It's interesting because the temptation for work schedules to get less rigid
Yeah.
when you're at home versus more rigid.
Yeah.
That's fascinating that the data is saying maybe we're getting more rigid.
We're seeing more rigid.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. Have you made any changes to the product roadmap just in reaction to what's happened?
Yeah, so video obviously became much more important. We had video in Uber Conference, but we wanted to really up-level our video game, so we acquired a company called High Five in August. And they're a startup, came out of Google. They spent the last 8 years working on nothing but video.
Cool.
And so we grabbed them, folded them into our platform, and so now we have a much better video product too.
That was this August.
That was literally, 3 months ago.
So that's awesome. So
Yeah.
you bought a company during
COVID.
Did you meet any of them in person?
One, their CEO, he lives in Half Moon Bay. I went out and met him.
Oh, God.
But that was it.
There we go.
And it was 50 some odd employees and only one person, one face-to-face meeting.
All right, so we're raising $100 million. We're buying companies.
Yeah.
And we already talked about talent, and that's a big focus of Crosschq. So you said earlier you're going to be hiring maybe as many as 500 people.
Yeah.
What's that been like as it relates to hiring remotely? What have you seen?
So over the last, on March, it was March 5th, we just said, that's it, we're shutting the offices. And like and then we just said no one's allowed to come to the office. We're just closing the offices. Everyone's going to work from home. We make work from home or work from anywhere products. If anyone can do this well, it's us. We're out of the offices. So over the last 10 months, we've probably hired 150 people, 180 people, all remotely. And the nice thing is, a lot of them we're putting in places where we plan to reopen offices, but a lot of them we're getting talent from anywhere. We're hiring a bunch of mobile developers in Brazil. We have great designers who work and live, like Chicago, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. We don't have offices there. They're never going to really come to an office.
For sure.
And it's been great. Like we've been able to effectively onboard them. We've been able to find great talent. In fact, you can find better talent because you're not just fishing in the little pond that everyone else in the Bay Area is. You can now, you find great developers or great designers or great product managers virtually anywhere in the Western Hemisphere.
What do you think the game plan is post-vaccine as it relates to physicality of an office, and what would the balance be?
Yeah, so we're looking at, and I was just looking at a proposal. We're going to put a smaller office in San Francisco, a smaller office in East Bay, and a smaller office in San Jose for our Bay Area. We used to have one big one in San Francisco primarily. So we're going to distribute smaller offices, and we're going to use them more as a clubhouse. So, hey, the marketing team wants to get together for a day, go to the office.
That's cool.
But go get your work done back at home.
Yeah.
Or if someone doesn't have a great home environment, then they can go work there. But we're not ever going to expect people to spend 5 days a week putting on their Bose headsets, whipping out their laptop, and doing the work that they could have done at home without the commute.
Okay, what does a Dialpad clubhouse look like?
Okay, a lot of whiteboards, a lot of beanbags, a lot of dartboards, a lot of TVs, but really just a place. I mean, what we've heard over and over, not just from our employees, but from our customers too, is people want to get together. They want to socialize, and they want to get to know their teammates, and they really want to get somewhat intimate with them. But no one just wants to sit across from someone working on a laptop anymore. Like no one enjoys that. So I think it's just going to be much more, hey, let's go collaborate. Let's go work on whiteboards. Let's go argue about stuff. Let's arm wrestle over the roadmap, and then let's go get work done.
So you were very vocal, and it's great, and I think activated your organization around a lot of the social issues that have come to light over the last year. Was that something that got ignited? Was it a flame that was kind of needed the gas on it? What actually pushed you to start taking more action?
Yeah, so I realized that at the time we were about a 500-person company. We're like, if we can't affect change, then no one can. Because literally we can make a decision and do something overnight. And so as you just saw more and more kind of these issues coming up and the whole Black Lives Matter movement, and really trying to have a company that you want to feel really proud of, and really be thoughtful about how we hire people and how we attract talent, and layer on that now with the ability to hire from anywhere in the US.
Yeah.
And you get a much more diverse talent pool, and you can recruit in areas that have different demographics than just the Bay Area. It was the perfect opportunity to go try to fix some things.
Anything that you would point out that you've kind of learned about yourself this year that has surprised you?
I used to travel a lot, and I used to be on the road a lot. And so I've now been home for the last 10 months and really haven't been on the road at all. It's interesting how how quickly you adapt to that. It's a little bit of Groundhog Day. It's like every day's the same. But when you do have, I'd say what I've learned from the whole COVID thing, you really got to enjoy the good times. You just soak it up, really enjoy the good times. And you never know. I mean, I think when we get out of this, it's going to be a little bit like the Roaring '20s, because everyone's going to be like, hey man, who knows when we're going to get the next thing that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Let's go enjoy ourselves. So I think I learned a little bit about that. But yeah, I never thought I'd be able to hang at home for 10 months straight. And I learned that I can.
You can. And I know for the young entrepreneurs out there, this is a good one. And I want to make a disclaimer that to your new investors, this is simply a theoretical question. But I also know your brain never stops. So if Craig Walker were starting a fourth company tomorrow, what space would it be in? What ideas to run through your head that you're seeing right now?
The things so what's always been kind of attractive, and I've never done it, is to go after a particular really, really narrow vertical and just slay it.
Yeah.
Because when we're doing communications, we have SMBs, we have mid-market, we have multinational enterprises, you have people who are using it for contact center, for sales, for conferencing, we're all over the place trying to provide this solution for any business, which is great because it means it's a massive market.
Yeah.
But it's really, really hard to just nail. So I would love to do something, pick a vertical, the legal industry or the hotel industry or something, and just be there's got to be a better way than what they're doing stuff today. Really, really focus in on every little aspect of a really tight, narrow vertical. And then you know how to market to it. And then you can reach people really easily. And then you can really, really live just that one thing. Question is that a big enough? Is there a big enough problem? Is the market big enough? You get into other issues, but things like that, I do think you're going to see a lot of specialized SaaS stuff going after verticals.
And the question is, do you end up back at that Chicago trade show?
Yeah, exactly. And just be what the hell am I doing?
What am I doing here? No, it is interesting. There's been so much momentum, and a lot of our customers that are in those spaces that have found massive businesses in very targeted verticals.
Yeah.
Slice in the pizza space and Service Titan in the HVAC space. Who would have thought that these are multi-billion-dollar companies? So that's awesome. So tell me a little about your holiday plans. What is the Walker family doing for the holidays?
You're looking at it.
Yeah.
It's hanging out here, maybe playing a little tennis, and trying to stay sane.
Yeah. Well, cheers to that. So, all right, Craig. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This is our first Crosschq check-in, the first of many. And again, we thought it appropriate to be doing this with Craig because our magic all got started in this very place.
And it's impressive. And congratulations on everything you built.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And I love your quote. I want to end that work is a thing you do, not a place you go. I actually think that's a big one that we should all hold on to as we think about planning our go forward. So again, thanks everybody for joining us for our first Crosschq check-in. If you want any more information on Dialpad, check them out, dialpad.com, and Crosschq, you know where we live. Thanks a lot.